Welcome back to Paradyme. We are so excited to have you here. Thank you for tuning in. In this week's episode, we discuss rule number 12 from Dr. Jordan B. Peterson's book, 12 Rules for Life, An Antidote to Chaos. The title of this chapter is Pet a Cat When You Encounter One on the Street. We hope you enjoy the show. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Leave us a comment because we love the feedback. We love hearing from you guys. Make sure you like the video and follow us on all our social media platforms. All the information will be in the description below. And do not forget, now equals tomorrow.
You have to search for a new set of rules.
Bread is of little use to the man who has betrayed his soul.
Maybe you're the protagonist in your story, but like there's a million other people.
All right. Welcome everybody to the last chapter of Dr. Jordan B. Peterson's 12 Rules for Life, An Antidote for Chaos. This is Rule 12, pet a cat when you encounter one on the street. So what did you guys think of this chapter?
All right, I'll go ahead and go. I really love this chapter. I think it was a very nice way to end this book. Chef's kiss. Hats off to Jordan B. Peterson. And I think there was a lot to learn just from this chapter alone about, I guess, the sort of idea of just finding happiness in the little things despite the, I guess, suffering that life has to offer and chaos that's inside of it. So enjoy the little things. I got low-key.
Okay, nice.
Yeah, I picked up that like the book, like it's almost like he's defining what suffering is.
Okay.
Like in the reality of life, like you enjoy the good times because you never know when like something may spark and things are gonna flip upside down, and then now you're living in the bad times, but you don't recognize it because you were living in a good life for so long. And so things can go upside down really fast, but that comes in many different forms. It's not just in the form of like how his daughter had the bone problems and her hip problem, and then you know what I mean, all those with it. So I'm pretty sure there's all sorts of problems that people deal with, but it's also just looking at the beauty of life, and if you can find that, then that's the real like satisfaction, propping yourself up on that. He can't remember. I was listening to a podcast, and it's like your principles are there to prop you up against the suffering of life. It's like what you battle life with, so you can remain propped up and standing strong. So, yeah, this is definitely a solidified ending for the book. So I liked it.
For me, it was just a reminder that everyone's going through shit all the time. You know, you're not special. You know, I'm sure as a parent, watching your daughter struggle with chronic illness is very hard, you know, but he's like, the world doesn't stop just because my life seems out of order and I still got to wake up and go to work tomorrow. And like, I think we should, as people, as humans, we should acknowledge that with every other person we see.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely.
I really enjoyed it. One thing I didn't really click for me was the importance or like the metaphor of what the cat meant. We can discuss that further later, but I really enjoyed it. One thing I did take away, one large thing that I took away was like David said, like enjoy the little things, you know? So I really enjoyed it. Cool. Definitely. You guys want to jump into it?
Yeah.
Full send.
Yeah.
My first
Dogs
discussion
are okay
point
too.
is in 343. So if anybody has anything,
What's his name? The studies demonstrated Tajfels, I forget, I don't know how to say his name, but like the study demonstrating that people are social and antisocial. The study that shows you that people already feel comfortable with their social group if they're in a categorical study of that nature. They'll naturally choose where they feel comfortable. I highlighted after he says people are antisocial because they don't like the members of the other groups. I highlighted, I think it might be a solution to a complex problem of optimization. I think what he's trying to figure out is how can we optimize being uncomfortable? Because people are so quick to jump to what they are comfortable with, such as friends group, your friend in your social group. If you gave the opportunity to give your friend or your family member money, why would you? Or take the challenge of maybe developing a new relationship with someone that you don't know. I don't know. I took it in a way where so many people are. It's okay to be comfortable. That's what we thrive for. Security is kind of what we live for. Is what we want to be secure. But I think when he made the statement, I think it might be a solution to a complex problem of optimization. It's almost like we probably could find a way to be more effective and optimal at the same time if we're able to adapt it uncomfortability into our life, and not go into the nature of like just being comfortable all the time.
Just going off that, because I highlighted something just prior to that. It relates to, he says, people are social because they like the members of their own group. People are antisocial because they don't like the members of other groups. And then right after that is exactly what you just said. I think they're just comfortable with their tribe. Yeah, just like we talk about other groups of people, and it's not that they're antisocial. They're actually very social in their own cliques. They just don't know me yet. They don't know anybody else, and they're comfortable with their group. They're comfortable with their hierarchy. And I think that's why, like, Nice Bike, if you guys are listening, you should give it a look, has been such a good book for us, is because it allows a bridge to the other side, to the others,
Well, it's like what I just was telling you about, like, earlier on the driveway.
Yes.
Like, even though this person that we were describing hangs out with one or two people, we may consider them antisocial, but they are very social just within that group because that's all they feel most comfortable in at that moment in time. I highlighted in that same paragraph, perhaps people identify with groups because, actually, I'm sorry, let me read that. Perhaps people identify with groups at the flip of a coin because they deeply want to organize themselves, protect themselves, and still have some reasonable probability of climbing the dominance hierarchy. So that's what I got from that.
And on that note, I think that's why, how I mentioned earlier that when some friends hang out with us but we're the larger whole, like when we go camping, I tend to like enjoy them more. And I think it's because we've taken away what's comfortable, and they can see that, like, as a group of people, we can accomplish a lot of things. Like, we went camping out in the middle of nowhere. We were all able to come together, and maybe in their group, that just seems unfathomable to even tackle something like that. But we do it like it's like a normal weekend. And then they're like, oh, I'm going to lay back and I'm not going to be as bitchy because they're kind of in control. Like, they're doing stuff I've never, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Even when he compares the corporation to competition, not corporation, cooperation to competition. He just says when two or more factors are important, but none can be maximized without diminishing the others. It's like you have to step out of that, because if you are too comfortable, if you lean too much into cooperation with your friends, your family, where's that need for competition? Where's that sense of like challenge in your life? You know what I mean? Like, you're not challenging yourself enough, and that leads to, I don't know, so many other things that could go wrong in your life. That's like you get stagnant and you want more and don't know how to find it. So I don't know. I think I really enjoyed that part.
Sure.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting idea because I don't know if you guys were taught about tribalism, right?
Yeah.
Well, since the beginning of time, humans have formed in tribes, right? They all kind of come together to create tribes. And they were social within those tribes, right? But they were antisocial if you weren't a part of that tribe. And so I think that's still active today, in the sense of, like, you see people considering their tribe their race or their degree or, just different things like that. And they kind of look down upon people that don't fit into that. And I think it's an interesting and necessary point to kind of get outside of that tribe and maybe try and see if you identify with other ones, because you can learn a lot about yourself in between your comfort and uncomfort zones.
Mm-hmm.
We're on, I guess the next one would be suffering and limitations of being. See if I had anything.
On page 341, I have a quote.
Just on this, because this is when he starts talking about how his daughter used to be very happy and go lucky, and then, reality started hitting with her health, and the happiness started crumbling away. Mm-hmm. I can just relate to this as my little brother had a liver transplant at age like 4.5, almost died. And from then on, during that time, my parents' lives, I'm sure, I was young, didn't know, actually spent the summer out here, but I'm sure they were what the fuck do we do, you know? But like responsibility didn't stop. My dad still had to go to work, you know? And then coming back from that, I can just tell things were different for my mom, you know? So it was interesting reading about this. I could really relate to it because the guy was like, I still had to go to work the next day. You know, it was crazy. He's like, life didn't stop because like my life was ruined. It was interesting.
Yeah, I think he talks about that later in the chapter too, like how to approach those types of situations.
Yeah.
I want to bring that up too.
Yeah.
On page 341, I thought it was an interesting quote. It's almost towards the end of the second paragraph. It says, "I came to realize through such thoughts I came to realize through such thoughts that what can be truly loved about a person is inseparable from their limitations." And I thought that was really interesting because it's like we've all gone into a relationship or know somebody that's in a relationship that's like wants to change the other person. And I think it's interesting because you don't think about it, but you love that person because of those limitations.
Yeah.
You know, it's hard to wrap your brain
What
around.
page was that on?
341, halfway down the second paragraph.
Yeah.
I think that was interesting. I kind of wanted to expand on that idea. Like, how do you guys take that in? What does that mean to you?
On the last, wait, I'm sorry.
So I can read it again here. Towards the bottom of the second paragraph, "I came to realize through such thoughts that what can be truly loved about a person is inseparable from their limitations."
I would say that's almost absolutely true because I think we all want to find a sense of, find a person that looks up towards us. We look up to them in a sense. They help us. They benefit us. We benefit them. In my case, it'd be a woman. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
How can she benefit me? How do I benefit her? Because not everybody has everybody has limitations. But I think us as men and women look for that. Like if we are lacking in specific areas of life, a relationship or love in that nature, however, friendship, fucking love partner, they could help in that area. Depending on what you're looking for, whatever specific area you need help in. Because I think that's why a lot of people look for relationships is like maybe I lack in, I guess, things like women. Let's just say women. I lack with my hands, and maybe a man can provide the strength that I can't do with fixing things and shit like that. So that's just simple. That's just like very simple. But
What do you think about that one?
I take it in the fact that maybe like a woman can appreciate you, the fact that she knows you're not the best, you know, like for the most part, like you're not like a model, you're not like the best looking, you're not like the most fit, you're not the smartest, but with all these limitations, you still try to look good for her. You still maybe care about like your health, so you eat healthy and you work out to try to be better than maybe less. Even if you're not the smartest person, maybe you strive to be a leader in your organization or at work. And despite all these things of not being the best, you still want to be the best for her. And like, that's what she loves about you.
Yeah. Interesting.
And vice versa, you know?
Yeah. I would say like I look at, we love people for their limitations in a sense. Like the first thing that pops into my head is like my little brother. I think it's so cool, like watching him learn how to skate. I don't know why I'm getting that. Like my head goes straight there. Like he learned how to ollie like a 6 stair the other day, and he's like pushing himself harder and harder in skating, and he's like limited at a certain point because of his skill level.
Right.
There's other kids that I know they're just like, super good or whatever, but like I think it's really cool. Like I love the fact that he tries and he knows that this is his threshold, and he's like starting to like tap into like, I don't know, skating harder or pushing his grades harder or, just breaking those limitations. Even though they're there, that's why I love the fact that he's where he's at right now, and that's where he needs to be. And he's moving farther, and sometimes he hits that wall, that's his limitation. But that's for me, like I still like that, Okay. Even for him and like everybody in my life, like I think it's cool. It's like it sort of reminds me of that thing, enjoy the ride, or what the journey is a destination. Yeah, that's what I think about.
Go ahead, sorry.
Do you guys have specific examples of loving somebody despite or for their limitation in your own personal life?
I don't know. It's sort of hard for me because I don't look for limitations. I look for like what are people good at.
Right.
So I don't look for like things that are in a sense negative as far as limitation. I look for like positive things. So I don't ever look for like what is that person limited in. You know what I mean? Like I don't search for that.
Have you happened upon it?
Yeah, like I've definitely dealt with even myself to identify with myself. Like it's hard for me to not be judgmental. Like I prejudge a lot of people, like by just growing up and having that be upon me, like and then seeing how you dress, how you talk, how you walk, like that's almost like instilled in me. I don't neglect it. I don't act like it's not there, but I'm very aware of it now. You know what I mean? And I try to be less judgmental, but understanding that like we all have standards for our lives. And so if we weren't judgmental because so many people identify judgment as a negative thing, I view it as since like a standard, right? We have preferences. What is a preference? That's a judgment of something that you want in your life. So if we judge others, wouldn't that just identify your partner to be a preference in your life? You see, like, so that's how my mind thinks of it. I'm not judging you based on like making fun of you. I'm setting my life up to have a certain standard, just like how women and men, everybody has a certain standard in their life. So I don't really look for limitations. I look for what a person carries and what are they confident in. You know what I mean? Like if they're even aware if they need help in specific areas.
Okay.
I see the limitation thing. You talking about skating opened up a door in my head about welding, where clearly me compared to like the other two top guys in the shop, like they were better than me. Like if there was like a limit, they were beyond the limit that I could do.
Mm-hmm.
But my bosses were like, we can depend on John to do everything up into that limit, and that's fucking cool. Like that's dope that he can do everything up to there, you know? And that's, you know, if we need something more than that, then we'll get Ben to do it. And I feel like that's good in itself, you know? Like I do have my limits, you know? And like sometimes they're like, hey, I know this kind of going to be fucking hard for you, but you got to do it. And like they're acknowledging this is beyond my limit, but they're like, we think you can do it anyway. Go send it. You know what I'm saying? And like maybe I'll get like an 80% on it. But they're like, that's good enough, bro. We'll have Ben go fix up the rest of it. Like that was dope. Like you helped us out.
Interesting. I think also too in the next sentence he says, he's talking about Julian. He in this specific part in the book. Since I loved him a lot, I decided that he was all right the way he was, despite his fragility. So maybe limitations could be transferred out for like fragility and like why we love people. Sort of love them for how I guess limitations is a little of a weird word too, but just the areas in which they're not maybe could be like challenged a little bit more, or though that's where they are. I don't know.
No,
You
that's
know what I mean?
It's tough. That's why I asked.
I would say like because I don't know. I've heard this a lot. I haven't quite experienced it, or maybe I don't know. I don't really remember. But you almost have you ever met someone that like you want to be their friend, you want to be in a relationship with them because you can give them a sense of help? Like you can be their guidance to getting better at whatever it is they need. Like
Yeah.
like just thinking about relationships, like for like just a hypothetical example, like a woman that say is more dominant or not dominant, but just say she has her life together and she meets a man that she really likes. And maybe she doesn't mind taking care of him and showing him the ropes all of life and how to take care of himself. I'm not saying that's an ideal situation, but it could be vice versa too. It's like it's like nurturing. Like they find satisfaction in nurturing somebody else and helping and guide.
Okay, that's what you're saying.
So, yeah, I mean, it makes sense. You kind of like fall in love with somebody's limitations because you can help them develop.
Yeah. Moving on to if anybody else
for
has
sure.
there's this part where he talks about Superman. I thought it was fucking dope.
Yeah. Oh,
And
word.
I guess this is kind of bouncing off of that. You know, like where I don't know who the creator where he talks about it, but you know, Superman short story. Yeah, I guess when he was being made as a character, I guess he's just too strong. And he got boring. 'Cause he could fucking
he slowly kept getting stronger and stronger. They kept trying to like up themselves. Every comic would be like, Superman now has a new strength, a new this, a new that. And then it's like, well, who can beat this guy? Nobody. So like,
Yeah.
where's that? Where's the adversity?
Yeah, so it makes me think of that yin and yang thing. You can't have this without that, or if everything's like this, then you don't appreciate the opposite, or vice versa. So I think that was really cool. You had mentioned Deus Ex Machina the last time you talked, but I didn't even know what that meant. But now he put it into perspective in that same kind of area too. Um, I highlighted a superhero who can do anything turns out to not be a hero at all. He's
like a
nothing
god.
specific, so he's nothing. Being of any reasonable sort appears to require limitation.
I think what I picked up on that is so it's a question. I put, without limitations, are you even relatable?
Yeah, exactly. I'm glad you said that.
So that's how I think why if that was the reason why they pulled Superman's powers back, and like obviously there's really no
They did. He says it in there. Like that's
Yeah.
the whole. They had to like reboot it.
yeah. So it's like, how can people relate? You know what I mean? Because that's really like a root of causation to be friends or be, you gotta be relatable.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that's kind of what I picked up on that. Like superheroes that can do anything turn out to be not heroes at all.
Right. And I mean, we all have people that we kind of like look up to as like role models or anything like that. And I think what's really interesting about today is that people pick apart other people's character because they're not perfect. Right. And like, I don't think they get to realize that like, because of these qualities, now I can look at this person as another human instead of a god.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Like he says, no limitation, no story, no beings. Like,
Right.
What are you?
Like what they did with Jordan Peterson. Like his wife was diagnosed with a cancer that only 200 people have ever been diagnosed with in America. And he fell into drug abuse.
The same guy right here?
The writer, author.
The same guy with the daughter and everything?
Yeah.
That's crazy, bro.
And so he fell into this pit and people were just shaming him and like making him feel like trying to embarrass him and stuff for this stuff. But it's like you forget that this man's human and because this has happened.
Send it.
Right before the last paragraph. It says, imagine a being who is omniscient, omnipresent, and omnipotent. What does such a being lack? The answer is limitation. If you already have everything and are everywhere, always, there is nowhere to go and nothing to be. Everything that could be already is. And everything that could happen already has. No limitation, no story, no story. Though 30 spokes may form the wheel, it is the hole within the hub which gives the wheel utility. It is not the clay the potter throws which gives the pot its usefulness, but the space within its shape, from which the pot is made. Without a door, the room cannot be entered, and without its windows, it is dark. Such is the utility of non-existence. And so I think, kind of coming back to like what you're saying, when you're viewing yourself as like God's servant, and you forget to understand that humans have limitations and they conduct themselves in a way that is conducive to sin. You kind of, like you said, it kind of pushes people away, and it's kind of declining that relationship. I thought it was interesting though, because it says like the 30 spokes may form the wheel, but the whole is what gives its utility, right? So that's where you put the wheel on it so you can move. I put here, our limitations develop our character and help create our being. And so I just thought it was a really interesting quote because we always try to see what our strengths are. I've only taken time a couple of times to understand what my limitations are, and I feel like that's not really fully understood. But it'd be worth looking into because that's what gives the wheel its utility.
I'm sorry. I was like,
No,
cutting
go
you
for
off. Anybody else? Anything to say? On page 346, there's a part after this like sort of excerpt. I don't know what you guys thought about that, but afterwards he sort of talks about people who question why, like why is this happening, or life sucks and this is terrible and this is like
Why
all
me?
shit. Yeah, we've all dealt with people like that, and I was in a relationship with someone that it exactly reminded me of that person because that's all I heard. I was like, why me? Like, or why, And it's sad. It's very sad. But when he says people who come to these former conclusions are flirting with suicide, and they're toying with like genocide, And why does God allow these bad things to exist? Sort of like putting the blame on God and whatnot. Like, I thought that was very interesting because I've been around a lot of people who hate life. They despise it. Even says, even for the genuine pain that life inflicts merely serves to make life itself worse, unbearably worse.
So why do you think those people hate life? Is there like a something in common that they all have? Seems like it's in your head, like you're thinking about it.
Um, yeah, I would say it's hard. Actually, it's hard to say because even me thinking in terms of like why they would be so hateful, it's like I can point to things, but me myself, like we all deal with shit, and it's not so. It's maybe specific to them, like their issues or growing up with this life or whatever. And I know not the antidote is not telling someone like you could have it worse or whatever because that doesn't really do shit for people. But it's just interesting because they're playing the victim in a sense, and it's like I don't know, it sucks. I'm sorry,
Yeah, I think why I like Jordan Peterson and like David got like how you talked about like how they see the world as like sort of have to be harsh on yourself and understand that like life is suffering.
David Goggins for sure.
Yeah,
he's
I think why I can like sort of like relate and why I want to think in that like where it says after that it says not after that but it's in that same paragraph it says and what is truly horrifying is that such conclusions are understandable, maybe even inevitable, although not inevitability acted upon. So the genocide and the relationships you talk about, like it's almost like we want to claim that they're victim. We want to claim that it's me versus the world, but was it not inevitable? I mean, not inevitable, but wasn't it preventable in a capacity to some certain extent, right? Can someone did something to prevent that from happening? Not in the moment, not like say, let's say the Columbine shooting, but say months prior to that. Is there any signs that they might have given that they could have been prevented in any capacity, right? And so when he says it's horrifying that conclusions are understandable, it's because other people know that this should exist. People think that the world is against them, and we allow it to be like that for other people. I know it's not our responsibility, but we understand that we all go through it, right? So that means there's some people that can't deal with that capacity. So they turn to shit like genocide and killing other people because they're not able to deal with it.
bringing back up the former of what David was talking about maybe not as far as you just brought up about like genocide and murder and
Yeah,
suicide.
just like the
but
simple, yeah.
People would being like, "Woe is me, my life. I wish it would just end," or "It's always against me." What I see the common factor between those people is that their life is actually very small. Like they still have a lot to learn. If you would go out, maybe like make new friends, if you would go get a different job, if you would just even move 30 miles away from where you grew up, you start to see people are people wherever you fucking go.
Yeah.
The person in Maine has the same problems as the person in Florida, just like different contexts. People are still sad, still dealing with the same problems.
That's very interesting.
And like, I think I've been lucky enough because I've been able to move around a lot and see a lot. It's like, people always ask me, "Oh, what do you like better?" Or "What state you like better?" And like, maybe geography-wise, I can answer that. But everywhere I go, I was able to meet cool people and like have friends. Like, everything's the same, but you're like, their flashlight's so small, they think like their world's like this. It's like, bro, like you're nothing.
So the problem is more significant because of that. It's taking up that little light in their little flashlight.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like bigger than them.
They're like uneducated. They need to fucking broaden their light and see like the world's not you, bro. Like maybe you're the protagonist in your story, but like there's a million other people.
Yeah.
That's
So,
that's really
so
interesting.
in a sense that so it is sort of inevitable. Like we can't prevent people from thinking the way they do if they're able to educate themselves if they want to, because we can't force people to do shit that they don't want to do.
And then back to the social antisocial thing. They handicap themselves.
Yeah.
They start becoming antisocial because they're comfortable with the small little group they have, and all it does is like keep them in this tight little fucking beam of light. They never get to go outside of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that everything's tying together in this chapter because like what I just heard is like how he's saying like what you said earlier, David, life, enjoy the little things. It's like so many people enjoy the little things, or like their little friend group. I'm not saying little in the capacity of like
Belittling
degrading
them.
people.
No,
Yeah,
yeah,
no.
of course not.
But more of like,
This is a little
enjoy
friend.
your little friend group, enjoy it, but understand that things can go upside down really fast.
Yeah.
And if you don't expand that little something that you have and maybe make it a little bit bigger, you might not have anything, right? And like, I know we don't like to think of that, but if you don't know that many people, how long are your friends going to remain in the same city as you? How long are your friends going to remain the same person? Maybe they want to explore out in the city and you don't.
Yeah, and
You
that's
know what I
cool.
mean? So it's like it could be a positive for both people, but don't take it as like that person trying to get away from you. Take it as a benefit to both of you guys.
And you know, like yesterday, you were tired. David was hanging out with his girl or whatever, and like I still kind of wanted to do a little something.
Yeah.
And I ended up hanging out at a dog park with the guy who's got the dog that me and Ace hang out with. He like bought us pizzas and food, and then we hung out. We chilled for like an hour and a half, 2 hours, and just kind of talk. He's like 21. He's got a long-time girlfriend, but he's feeling kind of like stagnant, and he's like, I don't know, like I want to get a new job. My job's not giving me purpose. You know, I kind of think I could like bang other chicks, this and the other. And I'm just like talking to him, just hearing him out, listening to him. Is what he needs. And I was like, hey man, if you think changing your career, joining the military will give you purpose, you're wrong. Your work shouldn't give you purpose. You need to find that. If you think you're stagnant with your relationship, maybe talk to your girl about it. I was like, because like finding a good woman's hard to find. You know, I'm just like hearing him out, and it's because like he's just been doing a lot of the same for so long. And I was like, go explore. You and your girl don't need to live in Fresno, you know?
Yeah.
I was, so just once people start getting comfortable, they feel stagnant, and then they start feeling like the world's against them. And I was just hearing him out. He's like a young kid. I was like, the world's huge, bro.
Yeah, it's super small.
So, but just like that, like, just because you guys weren't around, I still was able to hang out with somebody, you know?
That's sick.
Yeah,
That's sick.
that's so interesting because those people that I do come to think of, very small, hang out with 1-2 people, and that's all they think, or they're scared to hang out with other people, or they're just very, very comfortable in that like little dynamic or tribe that they have, and that's it. You
Yeah.
know, those are the same people that are more, I guess I would say, like data wise in my head, and like who I've experienced are very woe is me, just super fucking victimized mentality.
Yeah, that's why I made it, because I was like,
Yeah.
I was thinking in my head who maybe you were thinking about, and I was like, this is the common denominator that I see.
Yeah, common denominator. Great observation.
Another point on that, and like, how do you guys feel about if that person is woe is me, right? And you're like, well, how about this person who has a problem that's a little bit bigger? How do you guys feel about bringing that up in that situation?
Problem bigger as in, like, elaborate.
Okay. Oh, my job is so hard. I work harder than everybody else at my firm. They just don't recognize how well I work. Woe is me. And then you were like, well, how about the dude that you don't even know about, that across the world that's working just as hard as you, or if not harder, in the same situation, your problem's not that big.
Yes.
Like, how do you feel about addressing somebody in that situation with that comment?
Well, okay, go ahead.
First, I think as we learned about in like Nice Bike and other books, that we should just listen, the very first most, because people just want to be heard, and they just want to be heard and be acknowledged. Like, you're right, you do work hard, you know?
Right.
That is unfortunate that you don't feel like you're getting the acknowledgement that you deserve at work.
Right.
But then I would slide in to be like, look at all these great things you have, you know? Compared to, I bet you could name 5 people off your hand that like have less money than you, don't have great friends as you, drive a nice car as you. And then if you're not happy, you can go somewhere else. I think people don't understand that, you know?
Yeah.
I think approaching that, you know, I used to approach that with, dude, your life is like, you could have it way worse. Like, grow up, you know? I used to be that guy. And I do think listening is a really good tactic. I do think, though, there's certain things that we can do with the tools that we have to offer towards other people who are going through that situation. I do think, though, they have to ultimately see it for themselves, because they, even though they're heard, still truly believe in their eyes and their lens that life is specific and shitty to them. And they, until they shift that lens or do the things that we're talking about, get out of that common denominator, and it's always going to be like that to them. Doesn't matter really if someone listens to them to a certain extent. I'm saying it's a good tool for everybody to try and do that. But unless it's about execution, unless they're actually doing the things that they're trying to actively do to like fix that portion or whatever of their life, then it stagnant.
Yeah, I think it's like you have to really be searching for if your life is not the way you want it to be playing out, job, relationship, stagnation in any form, in any specific area of your life, you have to search for a new set of rules for your life. Search for something different that like you have to be able to step outside of your own mind and view yourself from outside. It's almost like what he was talking about earlier is like, are you able to have like a third person perspective from your own mind?
Are you able to?
Yeah. So if you can identify that, then you are very aware that like you're unhappy, you don't like where you're at. Are you able to accept guidance in a form? If you want people just to listen to you complain, how many friends are you gonna have after you're done complaining?
Have you ever dealt with that person that just kind of wants to just complain?
Yeah.
Doesn't want a solution.
I don't know any. I don't know any friends. Because usually, like, I'm not like I don't just listen to bullshit. Like, I'm not just gonna sit and listen to you. I'm definitely gonna try and prescribe you to some certain extent, but I'm not gonna like make sure that if I am gonna try and prescribe you, I'm also gonna understand like you have a certain competence that you're searching for. Like I want someone to tell me something to move in a direction, right? I'm not just gonna be like, oh, you should do this because it worked for me. No, you have to be searching for it at least.
Right. I think back to the career thing, something I used to bring up with, a relationship I used to have. They would vent to me about work and how other people get promoted above them, and they would work harder and stay later. They weren't being acknowledged. And then I asked them, well, what are you doing proactively to be acknowledged? Because working more doesn't necessarily mean acknowledgement. Because like for me, one of the reasons why I got promoted very quickly and advanced myself is because I would very actively talk to my superintendent, talk to my foreman, and say, what do I need to do to be better than everyone else? What tools I need to be better than that person? Not even better, just what tools I need to go up the ladder. You go, for you to have this position, you need this, this, and this, and you need to be able to do this. And then once I would do those things, I would say, I've completed this. Acknowledge me. I want more money or whatever. And the person would say, oh, well, that's a weird conversation to have with my boss. I don't feel comfortable doing that. Well, if you don't ask, you'll never get it, So that's one thing. Are you being proactive, or do you just thinking, are you like the basement legend who just thinks, oh, I'm the shit, no one notices it? Or are you actually making it known,
Yeah, that's one I would say for sure. I've always seen that in specific people at like jobs and stuff. Like even in school, like I would see people talk to the teacher in specific areas like, oh, I need help in this. And I always had a hard time. I always struggled with that. It's not that I didn't, like I was almost like unknowingly, like I was blindly moving through things thinking that, oh, if I worked harder, I would get moved up. When necessarily, like I've seen people do that. They get moved up because they see that the effort, the competence, the searching to the guidance that they need. You know what I mean? So yeah, I think that works 100%, 99.9% more than someone that's busting their ass 80 hours a week. Be like, bro, I work way harder than them.
Yeah, because they think nothing's wrong. Yeah. Because the conversation never got brought up. It would be one conversation, and they're like, oh, wow, Sarah, I didn't know that, and then all of a sudden they're looking at you more often, because of one conversation.
So, yeah.
Yeah. I think it's important to add to this conversation for anybody listening, instead of complaining, which it's okay to get things off your chest, and like what we're doing here, we meet weekly and have discussions about what's going on in our life. I think what's more important than that is like after you have that conversation of kind of like, let me complain to you for a little bit, actively, like John was saying, proactively pursue a solution to that problem. Because if you don't proactively pursue that solution, what you're doing is you're just kind of bitching to stay in the same area. If you really want to make a change, actively pursue some sort of solution.
And I do like what John said. If you're gonna at least, throw it out there, whatever you're going through, or complain or vent or whatever it is, it's actively seeking or proactively seeking acknowledgement is a start to maybe get the help you need from someone that you're talking to or venting to. Because otherwise you're just venting to vent.
Yeah.
Just letting steam out.
Yeah, and some people I've learned, especially for myself, everybody has a capacity for how much that they can take from listening to someone vent, right? Like, are you looking for sympathy?
Right.
Because sympathies, there's a expiration date on sympathy funds for anybody who comes, you know. You complain about this? Okay, cool, you know. Oh, you complained about this again? All right. Oh, it's the same thing again? All right. Well, I'm going to just stop giving you that bank account for you.
Right.
But then it's going to suck when you some shit actually happens and nobody's going to have enough sympathy funds for you. Because it's, boop, it's gone.
You know, just a visual example too, just before we get off, is that while we were up camping, we were up in the mountains, very far from anything. My tire was flat, us leaving. And all of our friends left. We're the last ones to leave. All of our friends left with all the fucking equipment to pump up a tire. And us venting about it would not solve any problem. We could talk about that till the sun went down and moon came up.
I didn't know that.
But we had to go actively pursue a solution, talking to different groups of people. And 2 out of the 3, the first 2 were like, "Nah, sorry, bug. You know, I'm sorry about it. A little sympathy, but that did not fix my fucking problem." You know, and we had to keep actively looking for a solution. Finally, you know, something came out. Devin found a guy, gave us a converter. We're good to go. But if we just vented about it, nothing would have happened. And if anything, we very literally been stuck in the same spot.
Or maybe just think about the comfort level. Like maybe we weren't as comfortable with talking to people, and we just tried to contact Chelsea, or we like chased Chelsea down. Like, you know what I mean? Like just doing that. It's like, that's why like I love the capacity we hold each other to. It's not like we're like have each other by the neck or anything, but it's like we all understand that unless we seek change, the change will not walk through the front door.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I appreciate that.
Even if it's right in your face.
Right.
You got to want to grab it.
Quit pursuing sympathy. Always pursue improvement.
Yeah, but I wouldn't. I would want to acknowledge that people do like to complain just to complain. Not, I wouldn't say complain, but to relieve stress or like to just to vent.
And that's normal. And and that goes
know
back
what
to
I
the
mean?
listening thing. There's, you know, people want to be heard.
Yeah, so I think it's not always necessary that they're complaining. It's more of just like, wow, I didn't know this person or that my job would put me in this situation where I felt like this, and I just want someone to hear me. It's not that I want anything to change. I don't want to be prescribed anything. I just want someone to listen to me.
I do this shit with David all the time. We go to the gym, and I'm like, dude, I was like, the shit I dealt with at work today is just frustrating. Very frustrating.
Yeah.
And my talking with him, I'm not talking about a solution. I'm not talking about his thoughts on it. I honestly just want to fucking talk about it, you know?
Yeah. In that scenario, when there's someone who's like, you know, they got something to say or they're trying to vent or whatever, I love asking people questions, like kind of like drop a little seed of like, oh, okay, so that happened. Well, how do you think you're gonna like move on with that? Or like, I don't know. I'll just be like, that sucks. You know, oh, it's kind of like the nice bike thing. Or did we learn? Yeah, it was like nice bike.
No, that's fine.
Acknowledge what people are feeling, kind of like agree, like, oh yeah, that fucking sucks. But so, how like does that always happen to you, or like how do you feel when you're in that moment? Like just something to like. That's what therapists do. They ask you, how does that make you feel? They try and get you to the solution, so you can find it for yourself. But yeah, I think that's. Oh. Damn, that sucks. I didn't know you guys got a flat tire. Sorry about it. I know you got a flat tire. I can't help you right now.
And before Devin got the compressor, I talked to people who didn't have the thing, and they didn't. I thought they had one because they had a fucking boat. They had some shit. I was like, you gotta have a fucking compressor.
Yeah.
And they're like, you can't walk to that store. It's too far. And I was like, can one of you guys drive us down to our friend's car a couple miles down so we can get their compressor? And he was like, well, like I was like,
I don't know about all that.
But he like walked over. He's like, oh, that's flat. I was like, yes, sir.
No shit.
Yes, sir. It is flat. If it wasn't, I wouldn't have asked for your help. But you, that's a perfect example. People have no problem looking at you and
making a judgment.
Being like, yep, you're fucked. But like, they don't come with any sort of help or solution, but they're down to be like, yes, you are fucked.
Yeah.
With
sympathy.
Nothing to add to the table.
Just to say you're fucked.
Just to say you're fucked.
And it doesn't do anything for you.
If anything, it makes me more frustrated because I go, oh, so now we all agree that I'm fucked.
Yeah. And kind of bringing it back to the book on page 350, it says, the demands of everyday life don't stop just because you've been laid low by a catastrophe. Everything that you always do still has to be done, and so how do you manage?
Woo! Bars.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about earlier. Yeah.
Jordan Peterson is a fucking
Yeah, but I numbered those. Like, you just
Yeah.
set aside time to talk, right? Creating a schedule to sit down and talk with whoever you need to talk with, and then it says
Right.
conserve your strength. You're in a war, not a battle, and war is composed of many battles. You must stay functional through all of them. When worries associated with the crisis arises at other times, remind yourself that you will think them through during the scheduled period, not all day. So set the time. Don't be thinking about, oh fuck, this movie is gonna be so catastrophic for our little one. Like, he's not gonna be able to make friends at the new place. Da, 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 da.
Right,
Set
right.
time to deal with that when you get home with your wife or with your loved one, whatever.
Right.
Like, don't think about that all day, because it's gonna drain off it's gonna leak into your work life and your
Right.
friendships and things like that. So
Totally.
I found
And do
it
you
really-
guys know people that just think about something all day?
Oh, I do. I definitely.
You
but I don't know.
personally?
Yeah, I definitely like.
Yeah.
I struggle with that.
Wait, what do you
Okay.
mean? Repeat.
I said, and
thinking
do we
about-
know people that like? So here it says schedule a time to discuss and think about these things. Do you know people personally that think about these things all day?
If there's a catastrophe in my life, I struggle with. That's all I can think about, and I still do all the things I normally do. I still go to work. I still get shit done. I still go to the gym. I still do my stuff. But like
Right.
in like the back of my head, it's like on replay, like the thing that's bothering me, and I fucking cannot shake it out of my head. Like no matter what I do, like that's why I got into running so much. I was like really like down and out, and I was like, if I run as hard as I can for as far as I can, I literally can't think. My mind goes blank, and that's why I would just run. I would just like run,
Yep.
like BoJack Horseman. I just run until like my problems can't keep up with me anymore.
I think I've actually trained myself to like get a little bit of a grip on my thoughts, just because Devin showed me this podcast by Jeff Logan, and he talks about anxiety and how it's like we all have really strong minds, and people fail to realize that weird things that we can do with our minds sort of make us feel a certain way. So when you're thinking about anxiety or something that's really bothering you and your thoughts are trailing in that direction, it's going to start affecting your physical body, like your everything in your life. Like literally it's like it's hard, but you can sort of like try and steer your thoughts into the right direction, and sooner or later it gets the steering wheel gets a little bit easier, and then you can like maybe the metaphor for that is running for you. Running's like getting your thoughts and just like fucking turning that bitch to the side, and now you're running, and it's not as heavy on your mind because it's just something that you can't control in the moment, but it is on your mind. It's just it doesn't have enough power to sort of like affect you physically.
Yeah.
And
So when I get to that point, like my body's screaming, it's like I can't breathe, my legs hurt, like I'm light on my air. The only thing I focus on is like, can I go another mile?
Yeah.
Can I go 2 more miles? And like I just do that until like I can't do it.
I was thinking about, you know, the shit that I'd been through with my ex, and I started thinking about something to do with the person that she was seeing or something, and I just kept like entertaining that idea, like subconsciously. I was just like thinking about it, and then like 15-20 minutes went by, and I was fucking pissed, dude. I was like,
Yeah.
fuck, man. I was like, why the fuck did I have to go through that? But then I was like, oh, like, wait, like I literally just thought about it too much, and now I'm like upset. Yes, I'm upset and I'm validated, but like it was my own fault because I sort of like led the way for my thoughts. I gave it a clear path to where it hurts, you know?
Yeah.
And then back to that too, you know, think about that. Every single person, especially now that we're like, you know, mid to late 20s, it's like every single person we meet has gone through a breakup, a bad one, has been cheated on or something, or yada yada. Like, we're not special, you know? So it's just like, I started thinking about that. I was like, whatever, bro. Like, part of like growing up, I have to like go through a breakup, you know?
Right.
Yeah, some shit, man. Some shit.
Yeah. On page 353, I thought this was kind of like a sentence that kind of wrapped up the chapter in like a nice bow, kind
Yeah.
of describing the topic of the chapter.
Sure.
It says, the wonder of being might make up for the ineradicable suffering that accompanies it. And so, and this is kind of what I wanted to ask you guys is, what'd you get from the cat? Like, why pet the cat when it's crossing the road?
Okay. Yeah.
John.
John, go first.
Lay it on us, John.
Okay, so I think the metaphor is that unlike a dog who just like fucking wants to be around you, it's very easy to like love them and them love you. Cat's elusive. And like, I don't know, there's not really a lot of like street cats out here. Back home, there's like fucking street cats, you know?
Yeah.
And they like show up like a fucking, they're there and then they're not, you know? And like, if you're able to pet them and touch them, you're like, wow, and then they go on their way. It's just like happiness, you know, like it's not always there, but like when it is there, you should like take advantage of it because it might go away and it might be away for a long time.
That makes sense because the end of it says things are good for now. Like that's how he summarized it. So it's like that's how I see it too. Like,
So embrace the times now.
Yeah.
Go ahead, David.
I think from what I got from the that metaphor, to me it just made me think like every time like an animal comes up to me and like wants to be petted, especially cats because cats are different. You can't,
different.
if you walk up to a cat, that shit might take off. 9 times out of 10, it's gonna take off.
Yeah.
You know, but the cats that are super nice, it's like, oh shit, I'm petting a cat right now.
Right.
You know, dogs are different too. But when I pet animals, it's a small thing that makes me happy. You know, he even talks about, I think at certain points in the book, someone, you know, if you go to a coffee shop, someone probably made that coffee with like very genuine happiness and they're having a great day and like it led up to you getting that cup of coffee and you get to drink it. You get to take in the environment that you're in or whatever's a really positive thing happening. And for every bad thing that's happening, there's also a lot of good, but you sort of have to choose to see that because if you don't see that and you're looking for, I guess, all the negativity and just bad shit that happens in your life, that's all you're going to find, you know? And there's a lot of good things around us, but I will say it does come and go, you know? That's like I struggle with that too. Like when I'm having a good time, I always get this like low-key weird depression when I come back home when I'm like out of town or something because I start to feel like fuck. Like,
That's normal.
Yeah.
That happens like everybody.
yeah, and it's to me like I always thought it was weird for me to feel like that, you know? Like I'm just like, why am I always like I see a moment and then I'm like, I know this is gonna kind of end at some point, but you know, it's fun to capitalize on the time when you are enjoying it. You're having fun in that moment. And you're taking on, like what you said the other day, dude. I love the fact when you do that. Like, we pulled up to your house one night, and we were having a fucking good time, and we're all just like fucking getting into the whatever vibes. And Jay was like, "Wait, guys, like take a moment. These are the times that we're gonna remember when we're like 50 or 60. I'll never forget that because it taught me like, you know, take it in." I told Daniel that on the way back from the beach when we were riding back. I was just like, dude, take this in. We're here right now. You know, even if we're silent for 20 minutes, just cruising down the street, like we took everything in and it was really nice.
Yeah.
Not on our phones and not fucking just, it was cool.
Definitely. I have a follow-up question. Just take a second to think about it. What are the things right now that are the wonders of being that might be making up for the ineradicable suffering in the future? Right now that you're experiencing
This very second, or like
in your life right now, this current chapter.
I would like to say, it was like our last night, and I was by myself, and I was just like looking up, and like the fishbowl thing. I was looking up, and the mountains were all in a circle, and like the sky was just beautiful. I'd never seen the sky like that really, and I was just like, wow. This is so fucking cool. I was like, humans have seen this 100 million years before me. We I don't know. You tell me how long we were for. And I was like, and they're going to see this a million years after me. I was like, this is beautiful.
Yeah.
That and just having Ace bring so much like joy into my life. Like him being my dog, like him being so good on our camping trip and like.
Great.
Everything about it, I'm like, he just brings me so much joy. I'm like, I can't imagine my life without him.
That's a good one.
What's the question again?
So what are those things in your life right now? Because the quote is, the wonder of being might make up for the ineradicable suffering that accompanies it. So what right now are you experiencing that is the wonder of being that might make up for the ineradicable suffering in the future?
The wonder of
being comfortable with being in the unknown. I think that's why I'm diving into like exploring and being adventurous and going on hikes and stuff. Because as a child, I never, and that's what's crazy too, thinking about when we had a conversation. I'm not sure if it was like us or like Claire was walking with somebody and I was like, I never went camping, hiking as a child. Never did any of that. I started doing that when I was like 17, 16, like as I got older. And then even at 16, 17, I was still like, not into camping, not into doing any of that. I just did it because like my friends did it. And then now it's more of like, dude, I want to tap into that and test my like, so like backpacking is like almost testing my mental strength, right? Even though that hike is like, I like stuff like that because really shows me how mentally tough I am and how I'm always looking for challenge. So I think being able to adapt into the unknown and appreciating that, like what Jordan Peterson talks about, like everything's good now, but there's going to be hard times.
Right.
And can you remain in a good mindset? I think it's just that.
And
You
to
know what I mean?
appreciate the hiking thing, man. I was thinking about it. Our friend Jeff, he's got like the
Yeah.
disability with his leg, with his muscles or something. And I was like, man, it was a hard hike. It was like 11 miles
Oh
total.
yeah, no, that was hard.
And
Oh, he did it?
no. What I'm saying is like, we're blessed that we're able to even physically do this hike.
Right.
Not even mentally, because maybe Mathis could do it physically, but she wouldn't do it mentally. But like, we're so lucky that we're even able to do that, and that we're not only able to do that, but we do it and we appreciate it.
Definitely.
Because I feel like just his soul, like I feel like he would love to do that, but he just limited, like physically he can't.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
And
That's
as
part of-
soon as we got there, dude, it was like, whoa.
Yeah.
Like, dude. Yeah, it was so worth it. Every
Yeah.
second of it.
Damn.
Shows
And it's crazy because like that, just thinking about limitations, I think that's like we all like really fuck with Jeff too, because we know like I don't really even sometimes I forget, honestly, like
Totally.
just when you brought it up, I was like, oh yeah, duh, like Jeff,
Yeah.
but it's just crazy. It's just like we acknowledge and we appreciate that about him, and yeah, it's fucking dope.
Yeah, man, Jeff was really cool. When I met him, he was very, very nice. And I would like to get to know him a little more. He's a really cool guy.
Yeah.
As well, I like him a lot. He's like
Yeah.
seems like a nice guy, cool
Super
guy.
friendly.
Super friendly for sure.
Yeah.
Very friendly with Ace and all.
We got to
all
do
that.
some trucking trails so he can take us.
And that's what he likes to do, and I get that.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you pay careful attention, even on a bad day, you may be fortunate enough to be confronted with small opportunities of just that sort. So,
What sort?
shit, maybe that wasn't
It's
that was
okay.
in context of something else.
Yeah, go up a little bit.
Yeah, I think he's talking about like, the dogs that come up to you, the cats, just the little things. Those little things that were aforementioned, coffee, dogs coming up, whatever,
Right.
the sun, it'll shed a little extra light on a good day.
And I really do try to capitalize on those things. I'm just thinking about one day. I told you guys I saw Petrie, like when I went up to go hiking with my friend Pat, who visited from Virginia, and like I hardly know anybody in this area. And the fact that I saw Petrie like up in this fucking
Who's
trail,
Petrie?
that
Dude, I don't think you guys have met him.
he's like, I met him at Jeremy's party this one time, but like I saw him, I was like, yo, what's up, dude? I think he's all fucked up, but like I'm so quick to try to capitalize. Like, let me get your number. We should hang out because like I don't know anybody, and I was like, you could be a friend, Like the fact
That's
that
sick, yeah.
So I think people, just in general, even myself, keep capitalizing when the cat comes. Be friends with it. Maybe he'll come back again.
Definitely.
Capitalizing.
Cat to polite.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting. This is an interesting quote about anxiety. It says the parts of your brain that generate anxiety are more interested in the fact that there is a plan than in the details of the plan.
Yeah.
So it's like, dude, that like just thinking that if you understand like manifestation, if you believe in that, understanding the power of your mind, if you set out a goal, if you set out a weekly schedule and you have at least something to look at, yeah, it'll make it easier. But if you already set that thing in writing in your mind that like you're working towards that, don't stress on the details.
Yeah.
Don't stress on the how. Just know what.
Yeah.
What do you want? And then that shit will come.
The
You know what
how
I mean?
will come during the
Yeah,
process.
that you'll
yeah.
figure it out. So I think that's where a lot of my anxiety came from, is like the details and knowing everything like has to play out like this. And so that was an interesting quote.
Do you,
I kind of wanted to hear your wonder of being that is
my wonder-
sustaining you through.
Yeah, I was thinking about that, and immediately, I won't even cap the person I'm seeing right now. We always talk about it, no matter what route it takes. Like we're enjoying the light that we're sort of just shining on each other for the moment. And like yesterday, we had a really chill day. We find each other a lot, just like sitting and enjoying the moment. Like we had coffee, we sat there, and we were just like, we don't really need to be talking a lot. We're just like fucking like looking around. We pet a dog. It was dope. Like, it was hella dope. We talked to someone, showed her around or whatever. And I think I'm really grateful for that for right now, despite like I guess the details of like the plan, I guess, or whatever. It's more so that like we have a plan. We have like we know our exit route if a need case be, but it's so fucking cool. And I think like sometimes I'm like looking at her and I'm like, I don't know, it's like kind of scary, just being so like connected with someone. It's like I'm like, shit, dude.
But that's
You know?
dope though, man. I mean, you look back when you're on your deathbed or at like 60 even, and you don't remember the
Exactly.
details of it, but you just remember like how amazing the time was. And so it's the fact that you're getting that allocated to your life right
Yeah.
now, it's really dope.
And I would say Daniel, he's like literally like a wonder being right now to me. He's so fucking smart, dude. He like stood up for me in front of my mom the other day, which I don't need, anybody, but like it was just cool to see him because my mom said something that was pretty out of pocket. It didn't really affect me because I don't really let shit like that fucking own me anymore. But dude, well,
We can continue talking, but I want to get this out the way. So this was Rule 12: pet a cat when you encounter one on the street. It's the end of the chapter, end of the book. Jordan B. Peterson, 12 Rules of Life, and Antidote to Chaos. Highly recommend. I'm pretty sure everybody here would recommend this book
Agreed.
to anybody reading.
Agreed.
So that's gonna wrap it up for this book. We're gonna be on to the next book, and then we'll keep you guys updated on what book we're reading.
All right, everybody. This concludes the book 12 Rules for Life by Dr. Jordan B. Peterson. The last chapter of this book is titled Pet a Cat When You Encounter One on the Street. We highly recommend you pick up this book and read it. It's got a lot of really good information in it. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, leave us a like, drop a comment below because we love hearing from you guys and we love the feedback. Make sure you follow us on all our social media platforms. All the information will be in the description below. And do not forget, now equals tomorrow.
Betrayed his soul.
Maybe you're the protagonist in your story, but like there's a million other people.
Do not forget.